Hello there, beautiful ones. How are you doing? I love to call you my my beloveds, divine humans, divine souls. Welcome to this little manifesting star piece utopia live, all about the mother lack wound and how we actually transmute this lack wound inheritance, whatever we inherited from our time in the womb, and transmute it into limitless abundance, which is our true birthright and birth light. And this is a key in what I'm going to be talking about later. So for those of you who are new to me and new to this group, welcome, welcome, welcome. I am a Paradise Earth co-creatress, a galactic psychic healer, and I'm here to really support those of you who are ready to make the leap from the fear matrix into the divine matrix coding. And that means we up level, we grow, we evolve from our solar plexus living and living from the paradigm of our inherited limited mindset conditioning into calling in our higher self, our soul consciousness, and living from that place. So whether you are inspired to be a soul-led leader, a soul-led business provider, a soul-led creative in this world, you feel this calling to support this world to ascend. And particularly in the world of business and the world of entertainment, this is where my passion really lies, because once we work with those who are coming up with the ideas that are revolutionizing the systems that we're currently in, we have phenomenal shifts occurring for the whole collective. So for all of you, whenever you watch these videos, thank you. You're energizing the co-creation of a new reality. And that's why I feel it's so important as we're coming to basically the UK version of Mother's Day, to address this mother wound and this lack wound, because once we understand that it's a legacy that we can actually see as a gift, then we can get out of this whole basically victim consciousness that keeps us stuck in lack. And we all have that story, trust me, I did for many, many years, and to evolve beyond it and see that we chose the circumstances early in our lives, including our womb and birth circumstances, so that we could remember our mastery. Now, for any of you who are joining me, please do say hello in the comments. I'm just learning how to do all of this. I've had some very interesting, what do you call it? I can't have really been going for 5 minutes already. Hold on. I've had some very interesting shenanigans with Zoom going on. So at the moment, I'm having to just go live in the group until that's all sorted. And, you know, I value your feedback, value your comments. And I'm just going to send a message to everyone. Hopefully that's going to work. Oh, I've got Anna here. Great. Anna, if you want to jump on, do let me know, because you're one of the beautiful souls that I want to speak about today, if you feel like it. And I think what I need to do is invite you in through my phone, but we'll make it work. It will all work. So yeah, basically this mother wound, this lack wound, where does it actually come from? Well, here's the deal. When you think about provider energy, do you think about your mum or your dad? Like, who's the first that comes to mind? Because in the patriarchal paradigm that we're currently living in, we associate sort of the energy of money, the energy of resource, of physical wealth and material wealth as masculine, as the dad energy, the father energy. Now, that's all well and good, and I really want to thank and honour Melanie Gillespie for widening my awareness around this. She's a beautiful being who I've had on the Star Peace Talks here on the Facebook group, sharing her wisdom. Basically, the original provider energy is actually the womb space. It's where we grow, right? In the womb. We're seeded in the deep, dark space of the womb. Like, it's the darkest part that the light is actually activated in. As the sperm and the egg meet, they do so in the fallopian tube. Then they travel down into the womb space. And this is where this amazing combustion is created and life is seeded. And we have to, well, we grow in that space. And essentially what we grow in, the soup, the hormone cocktail that we grow in, really determines our expectation and our perception of life. Now, I do want to say right from the start, this is not a mum bashing story, okay? I haven't made this video, I'm not intending to go live to blame our mothers, to blame anyone, because this is not about blaming anyone. It's about understanding things so that we can actually just get on with doing the cleanup job, which is what we're all here to do. So when I talk about fear matrix to divine matrix, you know, what I wanted to talk about today was really the key elements for us to be aware of. And I've got a few points I think are very important for us to address in order for us to understand foundational principles of shifting lack to limitless. And basically, you know, what this really comes down to is recognizing that there is a very strong connection in how we were nurtured in the womb and how we were nurtured in our early life by our mother, father energy, those who conceived us, whether they did actually do the nurturing of us or whether we were actually gifted to other caretakers, primary caretakers, to bring us up, and our connection to the divine, whether we feel we can trust mother, father, divine, mother, father, God, mother, father, source, because there is one thing that absolutely determines whether or not we can tap into the limitless flow of abundance or whether we shut ourselves off from it. And I will share that with you as we get a little bit later in the video. I'm not planning to be here for ages. I want to whet your appetite for what's coming next Tuesday. And that is the masterclass on recession proofing your energy, which is actually going to be a practical tool masterclass rather than me just talking. The activations will be physical, practical activations that are going to effectively get your brain circuitry rewired, also get you physically in the space where you can actually receive more flow in your life and clear your energy field of that which is blocking flow. And it's new stuff, so anyone who's actually in my Fearless container or Rise container, we haven't done this stuff yet. Okay, this is a slightly different angle, so it's going to be new for everyone. I'm very excited to share it. And yes, basically, great, and I'll see if I can get you on. We'll see if we can do that because I'm not sure about the tech. I'm going to share a little bit as well about some of the celebration stories of my current Fearless clients. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll see in the banner this Fearless, Loved Up and Limitless intention that we have in this group. And that's my signature program that gives people the whole experience of shifting from fear matrix to divine matrix. So rewiring their circuitry to thrive rather than survive. And the starting point of this is actually, as I said, the time in our womb and even our conception, which is, have we been wired to survive or thrive? Now, we all know the hormone adrenaline, right? Stress hormone, excitement hormone. There's a whole load of other stress hormones that go with adrenaline, but that's the main one. And then you have the antithesis of adrenaline, which is oxytocin. Now, oxytocin is known as the love hormone, and most of us think of it as the hormone associated with birth outcomes, with helping a birth to go well. We know that, for example, synthetic oxytocin will simulate contractions in the universe. Wow, check that out. In the womb, where if you are going for induction, which is one of my least favorite things in the world, that means that someone says to you, you're past your due date and you must get this baby out, otherwise it's going to be dangerous, which is another story in itself to talk about another time, especially with some phenomenal midwives that I know and my own experience as a doula and a birth worker. Essentially, it's a synthetic form of this love hormone. It doesn't work the same way as the love hormone, not fully. It mimics it, but it doesn't bring with it all the other lovely feel-good hormones like the endorphins that are 30 times more powerful than morphine. Doesn't bring with the lovely feel-good neurotransmitters that actually help us to feel satiated, help us to feel like we're getting what we need, and that is about our needs being met. So it's not just a birth hormone, oxytocin, it's actually the hormone that is responsible for the parasympathetic nervous system being dominant in our bodies. So if we say that sympathetic nervous system is fight, flight, freeze, fawn. So fight your enemy, fight the threat, run for your life, pretend you're dead, or try and make yourself what that threat wants so that they'll keep you on side. And fawning is a huge element of this culture that we're currently living in globally, which is basically trying to be what other people want us to be in order to actually receive the love and the attention that we need, and in order to be taken care of, especially in early life. That's why you'll hear things like the idea that babies are incredibly manipulative, or children are, because they learn how to get their parents' favour. They learn how to get their parents to take care of them, so how to smile and how to make the kind of actions that mean that a parent is going to be more likely to respond than not respond to their young when they're young is too small to fend for themselves. And this is learned behavior. Okay, there's a whole load of stuff around learned behavior, which is very interesting. But we are working on the premise that by the time we're 7 years old, we've received our early life programming that then runs the rest of our lives. We learn how to be in this world. And Teal Swan made a very interesting video about whether empathy, whether the empath energy, so those of us who are empathetic, are actually just traumatized from our childhood. I say just traumatized because there are other elements, and I'm not going to go into them now, but from a starseed consciousness perspective, there is much more to it than that. And this is that essentially we learn to anticipate the needs of others so that we can prevent things that could be dangerous to us occurring. So if we know that for example, if our dad gets really angry, he'll hit us. We learn how to pacify him before he gets really angry, or we learn to hide before it gets really bad. We know there's a certain amount of drinking that can go on with an alcoholic before they become dangerous. We learn to anticipate the needs of others so that they will take care of us. Now, if anyone resonates with this, remember that for us as children of, let's say, narcissistic mothers, self-absorbed mothers, it's very important to remember that those mothers had unmet needs themselves, right? And as a result of that, they never really got what they needed. So they haven't ever kind of been able to step beyond their own self-gratification to really take care of another. Now, I'm the daughter of a narcissistic mama. I love my mama to bits, but I'll be honest, she died 14 years ago and I was still angry with her. I never felt like I had the attention that I really needed from her. I never felt like I truly had her presence, her attention, other than her criticism. That was when I got her attention. I got the pointy finger, I got the shame on you, I got the good girls don't do that. I got all sorts of that kind of attention, but not the, wow, Rosanna, you're amazing. Wow, I'm so proud of you. Wow, let's look at your schoolwork. Wow, you know, let's come to that play. There are all sorts of things that happened early in my life that made me feel I wasn't that important to my mama. And I know it's not true because I know my mum was very proud of me, but the way that it showed was different to how I needed. So again, if this is true for you, if you're hearing and feeling what I'm saying and it's affecting you, please do share that, because I think it's so important for us to remember we're not alone with this. Now let's go back to this original provider energy and what lack really means, because when it comes to it, if we find that when we were growing in our mother's wombs, mum was stressed a lot, mum felt guilty a lot, mum didn't feel like she had the support from dad, mum was worried about money, mum never had enough time for herself because she had other children to look after, a very demanding job. You know, what are the other elements? I'm not even talking about bombs dropping over your head here or being on the street in abject poverty. I'm just talking about the day-to-day reality of so many people. And actually, you know, it could be even more subtle than that. It could be that actually mum's all right, doesn't really think about things too much, but she loves to watch things on TV that are scary or drama focused, or soap operas that constantly leave you on cliffhangers. Like, all of these things trigger an adrenaline response in the body. So the cocktail of hormones that we grow up around in the womb, that we grow in, are adrenaline dominant, stress hormone dominant. Now, it's okay to have intermittent stress in pregnancy. In fact, it's a good thing because it teaches the baby inside to be resilient and able to self-regulate, to come back to oxytocin. It's very interesting. It's something that happens in the placenta. And I remember hearing about this when I first started my pregnancy yoga training, like 24 years ago maybe. And no, it was 22 years ago. And it was something around the fact that when the mother's stressed, the blood flow to the baby obviously comes through the placenta. The mother's blood and the baby's blood never actually mix, but the placenta is like the place that extracts the nutrients from the mother's blood and feeds it to the baby. And it acts to a certain degree as a buffer towards stress hormones. And one of the interesting things that happens, is very symbiotic, is that when we have stress hormones coming from mum and they are picked up in the placenta, which is actually made from the DNA of the dad, it's fascinating, the baby will start to produce oxytocin and love hormones to start to pacify the mother, so feeding through the placenta back to the blood of the mum, so mum can start to calm down. Now, we all know touch, right, is really helpful for soothing us. And when a mum is happy about being pregnant, she will touch her bump a lot. She'll connect to that bump. And this is a way of creating soothing behaviour. But I just want to bring to the attention of everyone here that any sense of lack in your life, it's really good to look towards the baseline emotions that you feel without even thinking about it, the ones you think you are. So for example, I grew with the stress hormones of, well, I grew up primarily in the womb with the feelings of fear and stress, anxiety. Okay, so my normal as a young adult was to feel fear most of the time, as a child too, to get stressed easily, to get anxious easily. Interestingly, when I was pregnant with my daughter, I felt really guilty. I didn't think I was a very good mum, and she wasn't even born yet. There were lots of reasons why I felt guilty. Partly, you know, bringing her into this world when I was in a very new relationship, and having a sense that the relationship possibly wasn't going to last. And as a result of that, knowing I'd recreated conditions that were going to lead me to potentially bring a child into a broken home. And I was carrying all of this inside of me. It wasn't like up here really at the front of my consciousness, but it was laying inside deep. And my daughter's primary emotional state, if you like, has been to feel guilty. That's been her baseline, right? So again, I don't want to apportion blame here, because all of us love something to blame ourselves for, and it's about evolving beyond the blame, beyond the guilt, beyond the shame, beyond the judgment, to recognize that the guilt, the stress, the fear didn't start with my mum or me. It goes way back. And when we talk about intergenerational trauma, we're talking about the inherited, unprocessed stuff that comes from one unconscious mind to another, and it's just part of this nervous system circuitry we inherit. The good news is we can change it. So if the womb is the original provider energy, it is also where we firstly pick up this sense of our connection to the divine, and whether the divine will truly look after us, whether, you know, the maternal divine, the mother divine, or the father divine is truly unconditional, what kind of conditions are placed upon us, what kind of judgments there are, and how we have to behave in order to receive the love of the divine. This will all come through how we're parented. Initially, the sort of deeper layers are coming from the time in the womb. So the theta is primarily delta brain waves, and then later, once we're born, theta brain waves. But essentially, this is laying the foundation of our unconscious and our subconscious. And our conscious mind doesn't really kick in fully until about 7 years plus, right? But till then, we've laid loads of foundational stuff. So if you find that you do have resentment towards your mama, if you do find that you long for a relationship with her that you can't really have, you feel like you're constantly judged, criticized, condemned, that whatever you do, it's not enough, and actually on some level you do feel anger towards her, you do feel repressed rage, you do feel sadness, grief that you don't know what to do with. You know, this is a gift in itself, and I know it's not going to sound like it, so bear with me. But from a starseed perspective, from an empath perspective, from a light worker's perspective, we come into this world to remember our mastery. So we choose bloodlines that we incarnate into in order to remember, well, basically to help clear the bloodlines of the stories that are lurking, that keep being passed from one generation to the next, and slow down the evolution of that bloodline, keep creating drama, keep creating same old stories. And we come in on a volunteer mission to help clear that, evolve it, help those family members to actually be able to progress beyond those stories. But what happens in the process is we forget our mastery. And typically starseeds, those of you in this community are starseeds as far as I'm concerned, will have a really tough early life. And it can be really hard to accept that we love our mums, we love our dads, we love our parents, and at the same time we have inherited a legacy of lack. Their worries, their fears, their conditioning around how we should behave around money, how we should behave around resource and wealth. And, you know, understanding our money stories is a whole other thing. When it comes to tapping into the infinite flow of abundance, prosperity, all good things, there's one thing absolutely required to make that possible. And that is to rebuild our connection with the divine. It's actually to create a connection between the crown chakra and the soul chakra, so we can start to receive from source all that is, the center of the omniverse, which is, you know, at the center of the multiverse, which is at the center of our universe, which is at the center of our galaxy, which is at the center of our solar system, our sun, and then transmitted down to us. It's building that connection, which is going to bring way more of our soul light into our bodies, and it's going to reveal where we have blockages. And that's the bit that most of us give up. We give up because it's not comfortable to see. We don't know how to deal with it. But we have to remember is that in previous generations, the reason why we inherited a lack legacy is the tools were not available in the last few generations to be able to actually overcome the challenges that everyone had to live through, whether it was war, whether it was genocide, whether it was displacement, whether it was hunger, whether it was starvation, whether it was climate change. I mean, there's all sorts of things that have happened through our ancestry. But essentially, we've not been free, sovereign beings for a very, very, very long time. So the good news about now is we do have loads and loads of people in this world who have awakened to their soul consciousness through being heart-led. They're here, we're all here as leaders of a new earth paradigm. We're here as healers, as teachers, as guides, as therapists. And, you know, it's very important we learn to heal ourselves first because we all have wounding. But in that process of seeking our own healing, we're then able to support others with theirs. So the trauma element is huge. And, you know, when I look at my clients and I look at the biggest shift that they make, it is learning to move from being adrenaline dominant to being oxytocin dominant in the way that they live in their lives, in their bodies. Like most of us, when we have health conditions, when we have stress, we have anxiety, we have depression, we can't sleep, we have challenging menopause symptoms, or we have finding it difficult to get pregnant, maybe we have gynecological issues as well. All of this is a sign of being imbalanced and adrenaline dominant, okay? Sympathetic nervous system dominant. I'm being really reductionist, but you know, if your systems are flowing and working well, you don't have these issues. It's that simple. So remember what I said, the number one thing that is essential for all of us if we want to move out of lack to limitlessness is to plug back into source, to make a connection to our soul self, and then to discover the beliefs, I'll call it the BS, which you can take as bullshit, or a belief system that block the flow. Because everything comes back down to not feeling safe to receive, not feeling worthy, not feeling deserving to receive, and buying into this story of lack, which has been going on for so long, at least 9,000 years, but way longer than that, that we really believe it's the truth. So this is very, very important to grasp and to recognize that as the greatest gift to ourselves, instead of constantly trying to change our relationship with our mum, we can actually shift our relationship with ourselves and learn to reparent ourselves, to give ourselves the nurturing and the nourishment that we truly, truly wanted but never received. And as a result of that, our energy field changes, our circuitry changes, and so do our relationships, because we become less reactionary, less defensive. We're able to see where we really take things personally, and we're living someone else's story rather than our own. Usually our mums, grandmothers, great-grandmothers, great-great-grandmothers, it goes back. And I work primarily with reality crafting tools. So I work with the superconscious to imagine a new reality, and from there work backwards and do the cleanup job required to allow that new reality to become manifest in our physical now moment. So what else haven't I shared here? I think the good question to ask yourself is, what were you provided with? What was the legacy you inherited? You know, what are the beliefs you've carried forward? What are the lacks you see in your own life? What kind of lack do you experience? And how can you reframe these things so that instead of them being bad things, they're actually opportunities for growth? What are the gifts you have received in this lack conditioning? Now, I can say this to you, this is the what, the how is a whole other thing, because it requires the support of those who've been through it to be able to guide you through, because we get freaked out, we get overwhelmed with trying to shift our circuitry, trying being the operative word. Following systems is really important. Being systematic, being committed to learning new habits, it just takes practice, and it just takes patience, and it takes not giving up when things get tough, because whenever you enter into a space of confusion, that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It means that you're somewhere that is new. It's new territory. And as a result of that, you know, what ends up happening is you learn new skills. But everything you want is outside of your comfort zone. It's not where you're used to being. All right, what else did I want to say before I go into my lovely clients? I like to give the analogy of the womb to the womb and the comfort zone. So many of us have heard of the comfort zone, right? We like to stay in our comfort zone. I don't really like to extend beyond it, but yet we long for things, we want things, and they're never going to be where we're familiar. So we go, I really want to earn 10k a month, but I also want to keep my current beliefs about money. And it's like, it's not going to happen. If you want to earn 10k a month or receive 10k a month and you currently receive 1k a month or whatever, you have to shift your beliefs and your energy so that you can actually be the version of you that can comfortably receive 10k a month. Otherwise, you're going to sabotage yourself to fuck. And this is one of the things I've really learned as I've been up leveling, is I'll hit new milestones and then it's like, oh, can I maintain it? It's one thing to hit it, it's another thing to maintain it. And then when you do hit it, then all your beliefs around having that come up. Am I greedy? Do I want too much? Why should I have so much when others have so little? Oh, I must give it away. Oh, it's not safe for me to have it because something bad will happen. Oh, if I have more, others will want more from me. There's so many reasons why we block flow and abundance and prosperity and wealth in our lives. And I do want to say that there is a difference between money and wealth. You can have lots of money and actually be very poor in your mindset. One of the reasons you might be very poor and stuck in poverty consciousness is why you have so much money. You've created that much because you are so stuck in lack. So this isn't something that just affects those who don't have enough in terms of material resource. It affects everyone. And again, this whole thing of understanding that for the majority of this planet, let's just go on the basis that we know in the Western world, 8 out of 10 women are scared of giving birth. All right. So if we just took that as a rough figure and said 80% of the world is adrenaline dominant, because for a whole 9 months you're going to be thinking, I'm going to give birth one day, I'm going to give birth one day. And that's just one thing that scares you because you can see this baby's growing. Think about the other things attached to it. And it's one thing, the cocktail of hormones we grow around in the womb, or grow in the womb. It's another thing how our birth went, how our earliest life went in terms of being newborn babies. Most of us have not been given the opportunity to be oxytocin dominant, but this does not mean you cannot become oxytocin dominant. Let's make that into positive. Just because you might have been born into an adrenaline dominant legacy, that doesn't mean you have to stay in it. You can actually shift to an oxytocin dominant legacy. You can create that for yourself. And that is creating the scaffolding of the new earth. So let's actually move on now, because I feel that I've actually covered as much as I can on this. And, you know, what I do want to say is that on Tuesday, as I said, I'm going to be working with this Recession Proof Your Energy Masterclass to give you some physical, practical tools for you to start to embody what I'm talking about today, to start to shift your legacy from adrenaline to oxytocin, to start to shift your mindset from lack to limitless, to start to shift your energy field, like the stories in your energy field, from lack into limitless abundance, because lack shows up also in forms of how we try and get energy from others and how we also have energy taken from us. So the term energy vampirism isn't very nice, but all of us have these tactics that we've learned very early in life and how to get favor and attention from others. And so learning that we're social beings, learning that, you know, interacting with each other is really important, and learning also that we can be transparent about our intentions. We don't have to hide what it is we want and what we need. This allows us to really build integrity and credibility in whatever we're doing in this world. Because if there's one thing I see in a lot of people, especially those who are self-employed, that know they need more custom, for example, more clients to generate more income, but they feel bad about selling, they feel bad about letting people know about their gifts. This includes therapists, it includes healers, it includes yoga teachers, it includes artists. You know, think about the impoverished artist archetype and consider switching that into thriving creative. I loved that. I heard that in someone else the other day and I thought that's beautiful. You know, we have to shift our story to have a different experience, to allow ourselves to have more so we can give more. But most of us want to give more before we actually have more. And you will only ever pass on the legacy that you've inherited unless you go through this shift. So, in the current Fearless container, we have 4 mamas of 4 boys. We have others in the group as well, but I thought it was very interesting that these mamas all joined at the same sort of time. And it was right when I was up-leveling all the content for Fearless. And basically, it's been fascinating to see their journey, because, you know, when someone signs up to something called Fearless, Loved Up and Limitless, what they want is an experience of transmuting fear into trust, transmuting feeling lack in terms of the love they have in their lives to feeling abundantly loved, nourished, nurtured, and the limitless potential to create whatever they actually want. So this is about learning to be a co-creator of your reality. And I don't really want to use names because I do want to protect their anonymity, but watching them all learn what I said from the start, which is this is not a fair weather sailing manifesting program. This is a teaching you to be able to navigate uncharted territory so you always feel you can deal with the unknown. And I call that all-weather training. Now that means learning how to master the doubt and the fear in your mind. It means learning how to shift when you've gone into a fear response, calming your body and bringing it into a love, nurturing response. It means learning how to transmute what you don't want into what you do want. So if you have seen patterns playing out in your life again and again and again, whether they're around health, whether they're around love, whether they're around your career, your sense of soul purpose, and what you get to do is you get to change those patterns, and as a result of that, change your experience. So Anna, let's see if we can actually get you on. I'm not sure how I'm going to do this. Let's see. No, not there. Maybe in here. Do you want to... Oh, Swazi's here. Lovely to see you. Anna, lovely. Judy, welcome, welcome. I'd love to hear how you're receiving all of this, because I know Swazi's a mama too. What I will say, so I'll just see if I can get Anna on while we're doing this. Doesn't look like I can, Anna. I'm gonna speak to your beautiful story, if that's okay. And then if you want to comment as we go, we'll do that. We just trust this. So these beautiful souls trusted me enough to commit to invest significantly in themselves, and trusting in the process that they were going to come through, knowing that they were going to actually experience a lot of doubt on the way, because that's part of the journey. You don't get to shift from you that you are to you that you want to be without challenging all the beliefs that are in the way. This is what I was saying before about this uncomfortable comfort zone. Think about the womb space. We grow, we're seeded in the womb. First of all, there's loads of space for us to grow. It's comfortable, it's easy, yeah? We're in a new environment that we can stretch out, and it's nice and fun. Then over time, it becomes more and more and more and more squished, and it doesn't feel so comfortable anymore. And in order for us to go where we really want to go, which is to actually embrace and know the voices on the other side of this container, the version of us that we're becoming, we have to squeeze through a very small passage. It doesn't matter whether you were born through a vagina, a birth canal, I should say, to honour our female anatomy, or whether you're born the rooftop way. Okay, it's still a squeeze, right? So we're coming out of a small place. We need to be squeezed out. And whilst we're squeezed out, there's a whole purpose to that. It's to squeeze the fluid out of our lungs, because up until now we've been breathing underwater, been breathing through an umbilical cord, but now we're going to learn to breathe through our lungs. So we need to squeeze that liquid out of the lungs. And in the process of going through this squeezy place, it can feel really scary and like we're not going to make it. And oh my goodness, we doubt ourselves and we fight, and we just don't feel so good. And it depends how mum's experience is as well as to how well we're going through it. But eventually we get out, and eventually we breathe. And eventually we're held in the arms of someone who loves us. And that's obviously the ideal for all. And through that, we then start to grow into the next world. This is a huge world in comparison to the world we were in before. But what happens with this is how do I put it? Every time we're ready to grow into the next stage of ourselves, we get fed up with where we are. We get bored of where we are. It gets too painful to stay where we're used to being. And when I say painful, it can be physically, emotionally, psychologically painful, spiritually painful. Like when you're ready to outgrow something, the pain of staying the same has to be worse than the fear of change before you'll actually go, I'm done with this. You know, Blue Kate, who is one of my coaches, you know, she really was done with exhausting herself and suffering with the symptoms of Lyme disease before she was ready to go, you know what, I'm going to pay more than I ever have done and invest in myself in a program that isn't about teaching others and training others. It's actually about me. And that was the instigator of her starting the new journey that she's on now. The same with those who come in for love. You know, I started this journey because I was fed up of repeating the same old patterns and attracting Mr. Wrong all the time. I couldn't do it on my own. I'd watched all the videos on YouTube. I had read all the books. I'd done all the tapping. I'd done all the Reiki. I'd done all the positive thinking. But it wasn't changing because there was some fundamental beliefs that needed to be shown to me and transformed for me to actually shift my energy and have what I want. Whatever your reasoning is, something will bring you in. So these 4 women that came in at the same time, basically each of them have had a story around really claiming their soul purpose, what they're here to do, and at the same time to look at the lack and limiting beliefs that have been running their lives that they just didn't know were there running their lives. They also needed to own where they were unhappy, but kept pushing down that they were unhappy, and meet their doubt, meet their fear, converse with it, lean into it rather than avoid it. Look at the kind of habits that they had that they were self-medicating with, whatever that may be, you know, the distractions away from our pain. It could be alcohol, it could be tobacco, it could be weed, it could be shopping online, it could be endlessly doing good for others, right? Distracting ourselves from our own lives. So please don't take this the wrong way, because being of service is what we're all here to do. But there was some real classic self-sabotage going on. For Anna, she's never really been able to fully own her gifts, because every time something really serious would happen on the outside that made her feel like it wasn't safe to actually really bring forward her soul gift. She's a very gifted healer. She's a very gifted, you know, she speaks light language. She's a therapist. She's does all these wonderful things, to be fair. But to actually earn money from this, there was some real belief blocks around that, and also disharmony in the home. And it was being able to look at what needed to be addressed first in order to create the stable foundations to thrive in every other area of her life. So a lot of this is self-attack. Yeah, it's what we think we should be doing, especially if we judge ourselves what we used to do. If you used to make lots of money and then you're a mum now, and now you don't make any money at all, and you're reliant on your husband's salary, or there is no husband, you're reliant on tax credits or housing benefit. Been there, that was my story. All of this is really saying to us, you know, somewhere we don't believe we're worthy or deserving of what we actually want, and we're constantly beating ourselves up. And until we recognize what that's about, we're going to keep doing it. The other thing we have to be very careful of is how our children become the focus, either of our happiness or our misery. And as a result of that, creating this block that doesn't allow us to fulfill our own lives. So, you know, when I think of how each of these women has journeyed, I was reading what they were sharing today in the group, and just how they're mastering their own mindset, just how, you know, one, you know, came from a cult background, okay, and it was born into the cult, married very young, had a child, actually had the guts, the ovaries, to separate from the father of her child, to leave the cult under some really challenging conditions for her, which, you know, I'll keep away from here right now because I just want to respect her privacy. But essentially, she was born to believe that it was wrong to be pleasured, wrong to enjoy sexual interaction, wrong to date, wrong to believe anything outside of what the cult taught her. And she had that rebellious streak that took her out of it. But what was happening is she didn't have an alternative, and she was absolutely living off fear, constantly in battle. She didn't want to give that up, because actually that had kept her safe to this point, you know, taken away her most useful tool. And I was like, no, we're just evolving that. So there was then this constant, if you like, I would say, need to spend as much time with her child as possible, make the most of him, and you know, almost make him, and this happens for a lot of us, the the source of her joy and happiness, rather than learning to plug in herself to all the other ways that she can experience joy and happiness. She wanted to date. She wanted to move beyond that old relationship and not be in a constant battle with the father, and not take everything so personally, and not feel like she's constantly being attacked. Also midwife, she's finding she didn't really feel she belonged in the system she was in, because she's a holistic midwife, feeling that, you know, the way that the system worked was not honouring that. And in the time that she's been on this journey, she's like challenged every belief she had. She's starting to earn money now from her healing modalities, which before there was such a block to that. She started to value herself, honour herself, speak up, be confident, not respond in a constantly self-defensive way, realise that actually, you know, her own happiness will come from her and her connection to the divine, even exploring pleasure in a whole new way, so that she can actually discover what suits her body, what she loves, what she desires, so she can then have relations with others, not in a way where she's throwing herself around with, you know, everyone, but actually respecting that she's allowed to explore, that the conditioning she grew up around isn't necessarily the truth. It is a way of seeing the connection to the divine. It's not the only way. And there were lots of limitations, obviously, in the background she grew up in. And again, a beautiful story. Another one is, you know, what I would call was a nomadic creative that really wanted to have some roots, but at the same time was challenging herself all the time, with a story of not feeling like she really belonged anywhere, and that she was at the mercy of others to provide a space for her to live in. And she's actually gone through the process, which was temporarily really uncomfortable and is, to seek support from the council and to say, I need a home, and is currently in temporary accommodation, waiting for temporary accommodation, and at the same time writing her beautiful healing album, because she's an amazing singer, an amazing musician, and sharing her gifts in the world, to the world even, or with the world, of her beautiful, beautiful songs. And part of her journey was recognizing how she self-medicated. Now, you know, I've made no secret of the fact that I've been a smoker for many years. I was a smoker, I'm not anymore. There are lots of ways that I've self-medicated over the years, and all I can say is I've outgrown the ways that I self-medicate. My superpowers have become more and more potent. So I was scared of my power. I was suppressing it. Who here recognizes that pattern? Because we're scared of being more than the human we are told we are. And we're scared of evolving beyond the conditioning of the families that brought us up. There is this misplaced loyalty, as I said, and the beliefs behind it all have to be addressed. So another one in the group has basically wanted to have another baby. And when we first started speaking about it, she wasn't really seeing her partner, her husband, as anything more than a sperm donor, right? Anything more than the provider of what would allow her to have another baby. She wasn't looking at the health of that relationship. Now, bear in mind that these two were very in love before they had their first child, you know, happy couple. And this is very typical when we have children, is there is a separation that occurs. All sorts of things we don't expect occur that leave us with unsaid stuff. And when it comes to having our second baby, third baby, fourth baby, unless these issues are addressed, which is further and further apart, and we're really coming together just to create biologically the next life, we haven't nurtured the inner garden that will allow a thrive paradigm for the next child rather than a survive paradigm. So again, her journey was to reconnect to her sacred union with herself, discover what really makes her happy, and also to reconnect with her partner in such a way that love was the cocktail that this baby will be conceived in and grown in, and to address the issues that have come up since the first child that made it feel, you know, like it, I would say unsafe, but yeah, to a certain degree unsafe to have another child, that her needs were not important, they needed to be addressed. And I want to come back to Anna again, and just to say that, you know, witnessing Anna's journey has been on so many levels so beautiful. Like, Anna's had loads of health conditions as well, that not just one, like a lot of different health conditions that have been improving as she's actually been on this course. Now, things get worse before they get better. Like, a lot of us have to process through the physical. You've heard me go through something recently that put me in hospital, which never happens, but that's how I got my latest upgrade. It was like, wow, I can drop this habit, I don't need it anymore. I'm now ready to claim my truth, to clear my throat, And for lovely Anna, you know, being able to kind of see a life beyond the physical ailments that she's carried around for so long, and to see the connection between the physical ailments and the emotional trauma that she's been through, that she's never had the time to truly clear, been busy trying to help others, not seeing just how important it was to actually feel held, supported, nurtured and nourished herself. And, you know, one of the things we do on the program is to look at all the things we want. Ah, oh, bless you, lovely to have you in here. All the people, all the things that we want, we can have, but we have to create a structure. We have to create a way forward that is actually going to allow us to have it and to sustain it and then to make it regenerative. And that's the gift of doing this deep work. So I'm going to leave this here because I've already gone on longer than I intended, and I'm learning to hold the space with time. So just remember, if you want to take your next step on this journey, you've got a couple of options. One, you can book a call. You're ready to invest. You just want to speak to me about it and look at when you can start, and, you know, deal with the questions you have, etc., and find out more about the course, find out more about the options, because there are other options as well. It's not just this course. Then you can follow the link that I'll put in the video text box and book a call. It's fine if you've had a call before. If you're ready now, I'm ready to talk to you. Okay. And the other thing is that on Tuesday next week, I am going to be hosting the Recession Proof Your Energy Masterclass, where I'm going to be taking you through 3 practical tools that are going to be able to work with your mindset, your physical body and your energy field, so that you can hold the energy, the frequency of abundant flow, and let go of that lack consciousness that's in the collective, so your story is one of thriving rather than surviving, no matter what is going on around you. And also just to remind you that we're in the equinox energy presently, so we're coming towards Mother's Day. We're also, as I said, there's all this energy that comes up with that and these unsaid expectations. I know when I was having a tough time with my daughter, and, you know, nothing was done on Mother's Day, how hurt I felt, and actually wondered when I'd get a card that said I love you, I appreciate you. I had to start imagining it in my head. I had to start imagining what I wanted, that it already had happened. And I'm very pleased to say that things are a completely different place now with my daughter, and I'm very much looking forward to spending time with her on Sunday. But it wasn't always this way. So take heart. There were at least 8 years where it really wasn't this way. So my heart is with you if you're going through a tough time with your own child at this time. Remember to hold the vision of how you'd like things to be and do your clean-up job. And with the equinox energy, it's Jekyll and Hyde energy. It's like light, dark, light, dark. If you're getting triggered, if you're getting, you know, really excited one minute and then frustrated the next, like the sun's out, then the clouds come and the rain comes. Just be kind to yourself. Be really kind to yourself. What do you need? And everyone you have conflict with presently, just imagine you really, really love that person. And actually what you want is a healed scenario. And there's more to it than this. And this is not something that I have put forward before, but I had a wonderful conversation with Kathy Domine, who will be revealed on my YouTube channel not too far in the future, where she was talking about her own experience of dealing with challenges, dealing with neurodivergent children, and how love and kindness are the key, but what that actually looks like practically, especially when we're really triggered by others' unkindness. Let love win. I love you. I think you're amazing. Just got Anna here saying such a beautiful group of women, and being able to grow and witness each other while being supported through the Fearless course has just been the best decision I've ever made. Oh, sweetheart, I'm so pleased to hear that. I pride myself on this. I know, having invested in a lot of programs myself, how important it is to feel nurtured in a space where you're going to do deep inner work. So, you know, sometimes we do have men also attracted to this work, and every time we do, it's just perfect for the group. Primarily women are attracted, and, you know, we do everything we can in the coaching team to support you, to hold you, not in a way where you're mollycoddled, but in a way that you know you're being responded to through the most challenging moments. And, you know, I don't want to put people off to say, oh, it's really hard work and it's challenging. Meeting yourself, the bits of you that you resist meeting, is scary, right? So having your hand held is really important, and being encouraged is really important. My background is in being a doula with a woman during labour, reminding her she can do it. She's got it all in her. She is safe, supporting her to make the decisions that feel right for her. And that's exactly the energy that you get in the space. For now, love you. You're amazing. Take care. Please remember, if everything that I'm saying just feels so far away, the easiest membership you can tap into now is my monthly online yoga memberships. 48 quid a month, 2 classes a week live. whole backlog of library of replays. So each month you'll get all the replays. Start there. If you can't do anything else right now, it's a really good place to start to get your light body activated. Join our mailing list, come and be part of our inner circle, and I look forward to seeing you on the next level of your journey. Thank you everyone for watching. I appreciate your comments. Take care for now.